Welcome back for another helping of oysters, clams, and cockles presented by Bolin Media. I am Ross Bolin here with Barrett Dudley. How you feeling, Barrett?
I'm great. Doing just fantastic.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Me too, man.
Yeah.
Got a fun show for the Clam Fam today.
Oh, yeah.
We've got some small talk and some news stuff up top. Then we're going to take a few hotline calls from members of the Mollisk Militia on Patreon to show everyone who's not on Patreon what you've been missing over the past 5+ years, as we have been pumping out exclusive ad-free episodes every week on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles since 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Might have a little surprise at the end of the show, too. But let's start with some small talk.
Because I wanted to make sure we got in a little small talk, because I don't know if you know this, Ross, but there was a massive movie that opened over this last weekend.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. It had real big stars in it. Lots of hitting and punching. And I was wondering if you saw Happy Gilmore 2.
I did not. I did not watch it. We should add context that I think we both consider Happy Gilmore.
It is one of our formative year pantheon childhood and adolescent movies that we've probably each seen. No joke, I've probably seen it 50 times.
Yeah.
That's
at least 30 times.
With all the viewings on the VHS and then DVD, and then when it's on cable and you're just throwing it on,
Which is a lot.
Dozens of times I have seen this movie. And
and
it's in there in the mix with the Tommy Boy, Black Sheep, Billy Madison, Ace Ventura, both Ace Venturas,
Dumb and Dumber.
Yes, all of those.
It's a classic comedy.
Those films of the mid '90s and then on into that late '90s, early 2000s battery of old school Zoolander, etc.
And pretty inarguably considered one of the best sports movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you could also kind of argue it's not really a sports movie. It's about a hockey player who goes and becomes a professional golfer, but doesn't even play the traditional way.
Right. It's a cultural touchstone. I think even if you're not familiar with Happy Gilmore, the movie, I feel like you know the Happy Gilmore golf swing, right?
Oh yeah, you have to.
So of course I was faking you out to think that I was talking about the Fantastic Four.
You did. That's where I was.
Yeah.
You got me.
I got you good, you fucker. Which I think did great and also has very good reviews and is a movie that someday I would like to see. By the way, I'm very, very, very bummed that the summer that I have a newborn, movies are good again. I want to see all of these movies. I want to see Jurassic Park. I want to see the new Mission Impossible. And those are the bad ones.
Yeah. I was about to say, you're starting with
F1, rave reviews. Fantastic Four, rave reviews. Sinners, rave. That was a little bit before summer, rave reviews. But these movies we talked a little bit about this when we were doing a summer movie preview. How are all these movies good?
Yeah.
But they are all coming in with really hot reviews. Weapons is about to drop.
I've heard good things about Eddington.
There's so many films out there that I would like to see.
Not in the cards for you, though.
And it's just not in the cards
not
for
us,
me.
buddy.
No, not us.
Not us.
But I was able to watch at least a little bit. I've not watched the whole thing, but I was one of the 46.7 million views contributing to the biggest Netflix U.S. film opening ever this weekend as part of Happy Gilmore 2.
Pretty bonkers.
I gotta say, I'm kind of floored by this, despite everything we just said about how historical and how what a cultural icon this movie
Happy Gilmore is.
I'm still surprised that this many people fired this up on their Netflix.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Why do you think so many people fired it up? What happened?
Nostalgia? What am I missing? What are you leading the witness towards?
It is my understanding that the film relies almost entirely on celebrity cameos.
Okay.
And every single one of those celebrities used all of their social media platforms to pump Happy Gilmore 2 the whole weekend.
Okay.
So if you have 50 A-list celebrities with a combined 2.5 billion social media followers, cranking the movie, like you're gonna pull numbers in.
Okay.
You know?
So I was not aware of this. Now I'm about 40 minutes into the movie, and yes, the number of cameos is quite frankly astonishing.
It's insane.
It is insane.
I saw a list that I couldn't even get all the way through. I was like, this is too long.
I think the one where that like surprisingly the one that has floored me the most, I think, is when Kelsey Plum, the WNBA star, shows up.
I've heard that's the most random one.
It's just very It's
is she doing the popcorn thing or something?
No, I wish.
No?
She's just the starter at a municipal golf course.
See, so they just packed in as many as they could.
Yes, if there is a role that has like one line, they got a relatively large celebrity to do it.
But there are really random ones, like Margaret Qualley.
Yes, early in the film, he plays golf and he gets added to a foursome that is Martin Herlily from Please Don't Destroy on Saturday Night Live, Margaret Qualley, and Eric Andre. That's the group of three that he joins on a golf course. Now here's the other thing that I'm finding very surprising. I am lolling at this movie. I am LOLing. I'm sitting on my couch. I'm laughing, Ross. I'm laughing out loud.
Okay.
It's funny. It relies on a lot of these celebrity cameos, and it is very clearly like, how do I say that? I'm trying to think of a way to frame this.
Lowbrow?
It is lowbrow, but it's and they went with like a very basic formula. They're just redoing the first movie, but in a different way. But it's also sort of considered. Like it has genuinely funny stuff, and it has like a real like heartfelt, nostalgic sentimentality to it that is working almost in spite of itself. And so I don't know. I'm kind of happy that everybody is in on this film this weekend.
It's kind of funny. Like generally, you and me, I think, are on the same page when it comes to these types of sequels, like Zoolander 2,
which I watched. I know you haven't seen that, and it wasn't as well. I watched it on a plane, so it's hard to say how good or bad it was or was not.
I would argue the airplane is the worst possible movie viewing experience.
Yeah. Everybody likes pretty much everything that they watch on an airplane.
Anything to take your mind off imminent death.
They got too weird in that one. This is just keeping it
real simple.
Real simple. Yeah.
Repeat.
Yes.
Get the formula.
Yeah.
Pack in the A-list celebs.
Yeah. They've got all sorts of golfers. John Daly is like a bigger than a cameo. He's like a
character.
A character in it.
I think part of what helps is that the day it dropped, I saw some complaints. Very few. I'm not saying this was like a big wave of people, but I saw some complaints like, Happy Gilmore 2 was dog shit. And my take was like, if you went into Happy Gilmore 2 expecting anything other than a nostalgic cash grab, that's on you, brother.
Yeah.
So I think Happy Gilmore 2 actually really benefited from most people, the strong majority, knowing this is not going to be some great movie.
No.
This is going to be,
yeah.
You have to have your expectations correct is what I'm saying. And I think a lot of people understood that if you know Adam Sandler and you have followed his career at all, you know that all he has done for really about 15 years now is crank out what is mostly considered to be slop.
Yeah.
Fun slop, silly slop with laughs, but really dumb, right?
Yeah,
so like if you didn't expect Sandler to like have his return to form.
No, I didn't think this movie was going to win Oscars.
Or
like they were going to subvert our expectations and like write a real film.
So I think most people knew that, and it helped it a lot. Because to be honest, leading up to the release, and even when I heard the announcement that they were doing it, I was like, there's no way I'm watching that. I'm not going to sully the original's memory. But the more I've sat with it over the past week, or however many days it's been now, I'm like, well, it can't really sully the first one's memory. I know exactly what this is. And I kind of want to see how many A-listers show up and what they do. And like, as we've argued in the past, we need more stuff that's not, we can't just watch dark, highbrow, extremely prestige shit.
I'm here to confirm for you that this is not a Zoolander 2 situation. This is not going to ruin Happy Gilmore for you.
Yeah.
It's totally like an add-on. It's an added-on bonus that they even, like, every time they get to a scene where it's like, a nod or a recurring character from the first one, they play a clip from the first movie.
No way.
Yes.
To remind you?
Yes, it like flashes back to 30 years ago from the original Happy Gilmore and like plays the little clip.
1996
Yeah.
is when the first one dropped.
30 years ago. Yeah, or
Man,
almost 30 years ago. Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wow. So
So-
they're inserting clips from the first one. That's
Yes,
wild.
yes,
Did not
yes,
know that.
Yes.
Okay.
And as I've spoken to many times over the last several weeks, like I'm not able to sit down and watch a movie in one fell swoop anymore.
Right.
So this has been nice to just be like, put Happy Gilmore 2 back on. Let's see some more celebrity cameos and golf carts flying through the air. you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. So
What can I ask you this? What's the setup? What's the premise for the movie?
I can't say without giving away a very big spoiler.
Okay. Can I guess?
Well, okay, sure, go ahead.
Well, he's obviously old now, Gilmore.
Mm-hmm.
Is the setup the same as the first movie in that he needs money for some specific reason?
Yes.
I'm assuming Grandma's dead.
The reason is exactly the same as the first movie. He has
Grandma's
to-
house?
Grandma's house, yeah.
Is she still alive?
No, she's dead.
But he needs to get her house.
But yes.
Okay.
Yes. They have,
Wow.
through a series of events, he has lost the house again.
Unfucking real. They didn't even bother to come up with a different setup? That almost makes me like it more.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Oh my God.
They're just running it back, basically. And but now he's like,
Is he on the senior tour though? Like,
no, he's coming back to the
regular
regular
PGA tour.
And he in the first one, Shooter McGavin goes crazy because he loses out on the gold jacket.
yeah.
Which is, so it's basically like I can't remember what they call it, but it's basically supposed to be the equivalent of the Masters.
Right.
So there's
green jacket.
The green jacket, right. And in one of the last scenes of the movie that I've seen so far, he goes to the champions dinner because he's going to play in the tournament again. And he hasn't played golf in like 15 years. But all the champions are there, and all the old guys like Jack Nicklaus and Freddie Couples are like, "You're gonna play tomorrow?" And he's like, "Yep, sure am."
Just picking it back up.
And then Jordan Spieth is over here being like, "Hey, I asked for Belvedere gin. This tastes like Tanqueray."
Wow.
Yeah, he's doing bits. So
Gold jacket, green jacket, who gives a shit? Dude, that's incredible. It's so funny because Adam Sandler is one of these guys where I don't even hate on his hustling. Like, I'm like, I don't care. Like, he gave me enough classic movies. I completely understand him just spending the twilight years of his career, or really arguably like the back 3/4 of his career, just doing shit that makes him happy and that is fun for him to do with his besties.
Yes.
That's mostly what he's done.
you can tell he's having fun in this role too.
And frankly, it's working.
That's right. Like
This just
is
set
this is
Netflix
mutually
records.
beneficial for him and Netflix. He is cashing fat checks.
I'm pretty sure they gave him a hundreds of millions of dollar deal, like a $200 million deal
and
to make
Netflix
Netflix movies.
is raking it in with the biggest debut for a movie in the U.S. ever with Happy Gilmore 2.
And that's the other thing. This works because it's on Netflix.
Correct,
Zoolander 2 went to theaters.
Yes,
That
yes.
feels like a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Make me the slop,
Yeah.
but serve it to me straight on my couch, dude. And I will shovel it down. They gave him his initial deal was 4 films for $250 million.
Dude, let's get it.
And signed in 2014 and included movies like
Sandman.
The Ridiculous Six and The Do-Over, neither of which anyone ever saw. It still worked enough for him to get a second 4-film deal with undisclosed terms that you have to assume was probably still upwards of $100 million in 2017.
Yep.
And then in 2020, they extended him for another 4 films for an estimated $275 million. What I'm saying here is that it is very likely that if Adam Sandler could become a billionaire just off Netflix deals alone.
Yes.
Jeez, dude.
I think I joked with you. I can't remember if this was on Patreon or an ad base, but like, I think we were talking Happy Gilmore 2, and I said, if it's successful, do you think they'll do Billy Madison 2, where he has to go back to school again?
You did say that, yeah.
I think they're going to do it.
They're going to do it. It'll be for the exact same reason in that movie too. He's trying to take over the company.
Yeah, hopefully they get what's his face back.
Eric.
who I think maybe goes to jail.
Eric's pregnant.
Eric gets out of jail.
Yeah.
Is trying to take over the company again.
Somehow succeeds, and then Billy has to go back to school again to prove it should be him.
Yes.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's unbelievable, dude.
Yeah.
Shout out to Happy Gilmore, too, and Adam Sandler in general. So, in the comedy vein, you were a big Veep head, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah. Loved Veep.
Loved Veep, watched it all the way through?
Yep.
So I've told you over the years, like, I'd caught a few episodes, but I never dove all the way in for some reason. I finally did.
Mm-hmm.
I watched all of season 1. I'm working my way through season 2. And talk about just like a technically high stakes, low stakes comedy where it's like, she's the vice president of the United States and they're dealing with all these very important issues at some points. But it's all totally pretend, in no way feels anchored to the real world, and is utterly hysterical with super clever writing and an incredible cast of like 15 different hilarious characters.
It's funny that you say that, though, because I actually, like, I'm not the first person and I won't be the last person to say this, but like Veep kind of started on the heels of House of Cards.
Right.
Which took itself so seriously and made everyone in DC out to be these unbelievably conniving and like master manipulator,
bunch of sociopaths.
Yeah, that were, kind of like wheeling and dealing to that they were just smart and better than everybody else and on top of their game and making all these cutthroat moves. And Veep totally undercuts that by essentially saying, no, everybody here is a fucking dipshit,
a bumbling idiot.
And nobody gets anything done because all of these people are stupid.
Well, and it does a good job of showing like how thick the bureaucracy is.
Yes. And so I think that, the truth is probably somewhere in between, but I think it leans closer to Veep than it does House of Cards.
Oh, totally.
Agree. So in that way, it almost feels like almost like more true to life than something like House of Cards, because I actually think it's potentially a closer reflection of
reality,
of reality than some of the other stuff that's, super serious and just like smarter. Basically.
Smart, yeah. No, that's a fair assessment. I also think it's interesting that in the time period when Veep started, which is 2012. I think, and this could be an age thing for me, for our generation, like we've just recently come into...
Man, Veep started in 2012.
Yeah, dude.
Jeez.
We've just recently got to the part of life in your 30s where you start to better understand politics and what's going on and how politicians move, who they are, The landscape of politics has changed a lot since 2012.
For sure.
Where 2012, it was still looked at as like this very serious thing, a respectable entity, I would say, on some level for a lot of Americans. Whereas now it's like everything's just this shit-slinging meme wars from hell.
Yes. Yeah, it really has become even more of a clown show than ever, I think.
Yeah. So that changes watching Veep a little bit too.
Yes.
Because I generally consider most of the people who represent me in politics, like in Texas, for example, to be total clowns.
Yeah.
Just an absolute shit show of morons. So, anyway, but I'm loving Veep. It's a nice it's like one of those shows, I have these little breaks at work where like I need 20 minutes to just sit and I'll just throw on a Veep.
Yeah. It's an excellent comedy.
20 minutes.
A very good comedy.
Bing, bang, bong.
As many of our listeners have said.
In other news, for many weeks now, Barrett and I have been harping on just how good the Gilded Age on HBO is. I've watched it live as it is aired. I started season 1 when season 1 started, that kind of thing. Kind of got lucky with this one.
Yeah.
And frankly, initially, what I was looking for was a show that me and my wife could watch together that was more for her than it was for me.
Okay.
Because of work, she, as your spouse likely does as well, has to watch a lot of things that aren't necessarily up her alley. Let me say that,
Yeah.
And so this felt like a good win. Like, I'm pretty sure this is going to be high quality. It's from this guy, who made Downton Abbey, who had a hell of a track record. I generally enjoyed Downton Abbey for several seasons there. I didn't finish it all the way through or watch the movies, but it was good.
Yeah.
And so this felt like a good bridge. I've ended up loving it, like almost becoming obsessed with it at this point. And season 3 is on right now.
Yeah.
And there was big news about the Gilded Age this week. I'm going to start with this. Here's some Gilded Age season 3 numbers from Deadline, okay? After debuting last Sunday,
Yeah.
the 4th episode of season 3 accumulated 3.8 million U.S. viewers within its 3 days of availability, according to Warner Brothers Discovery. So within the first 3 days. That's a nearly 41% increase from season 3's premiere.
Wow.
So from premiere to episode 4,
Real growth.
41% bump. Episode 5, which aired this past Sunday, hit 4 million viewers in the same 3-day time frame. So the show is surging,
It's
is the
surging,
point. Like
yes,
at a
yes.
crazy rate that can only be attributed to word of mouth. Like this show is doing the thing that every network dreams of. That's like, we don't want to have to put $100 million in marketing behind you. We want you to be good enough so that people talk about you and you hit the zeitgeist naturally, and then you surge.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, it's funny because I think we all kind of feel like we're in this like doldrum, this kind of dog days of summer, like nothing's really out there, like, right?
Yeah.
And like, so this show has its moment, its perfect opportunity to be like, yo, it's us.
Yeah.
We're
the Sunday night
HBO show that's happening right now in the middle of summer. Like, I love
working.
I love that it's proving that there is actually a zeitgeisty show on right now. And I can't wait to get fully caught up. I've watched the first episode of season 3 now, and I'm sure that we'll have an opportunity to dedicate a little bit of time at some point in August on our ad-based show to a little bit of coverage. And I can't wait because I got a lot of questions for you. I got a lot of takes I need to get off my chest.
I'm excited. I've been holstering mine for years.
I know. And so it's very exciting that we'll be able to do that a little bit, and very exciting that we'll have a season 4 of the show as well.
So season 3 currently tracking 20% ahead of last season's average viewership, which is a great growth season to season. Season 2 ultimately averaged 7.1 million U.S. viewers, with its finale posting a 3-day high of 3.2 million multi-platform viewers. All that is to say, season to season to season, the show continues to grow, and as a result of all this positivity, as Barrett just mentioned earlier this week, The Gilded Age was renewed for season 4. If you remember me talking about this show after season 1
you were,
and after season 2,
you were worried about it.
I was like, go watch this shit. It's going to get canceled. It just like we were seeing all these shows get canceled and things get shelved and all these issues that Warner Brothers Discovery in particular has been having, which have continued through this week. I was really concerned about The Gilded Age, and now it's become this like secret hit that everyone is finally getting on board with. And I think you're 100% right on the timing here, really benefiting them. Season 1 wasn't even a Sunday night show. It dropped on Mondays.
On Monday nights. Okay,
they were like,
HBO Monday.
Yeah, they were like, we'll just slip this thing in here, hope someone notices it. Maybe the olds will enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it did so well with season 2 that they've given it the Sunday night slot. I can't remember if season 2 was at Sunday night. It might have been. But the point is, they've got another smashing success on their hands here. One that is also Emmy bait and gets a lot of awards. And as I mentioned in one of our recent discussions, it doesn't have any of the classic HBO trademarks of extreme violence, gore, nudity,
cursing, really,
sex, vulgarity. It's the cleanest hit this network has ever had.
I think you're right.
And that makes it even more kind of like, it's again, like we've watched a lot of really dark stuff. HBO has kind of become this place to go get very dark, very heavy, very serious drama. The Last of Us. I mean, The White Lotus is an exception, I guess. So they've kind of shifted away from this some. But even The White Lotus has some very dark and very serious
shit. It can be
shit.
very existential and
super heavy.
Sardonic and
definitely. Yeah. This is none of that. It is just the perfect, Barrett coined the phrase for me anyway, high stakes, low stakes show.
Yeah.
Where the drama feels real and you're invested and you really care about what's happening, but at the same time, it will not affect you in the slightest what occurs on this program. So I love it for that reason. And dude, I got to tell you, just as somebody who's, I'm one episode behind now, it just gets better and better. They keep finding new wrinkles and ways to keep it fresh and exciting, and And that you've got so many characters that there's like always a new one to lean on. Well, this week, let's focus on developing like Mrs. Armstrong or something. You know what I mean? So big shout out to the Gilded Age for getting renewed for season 4. That is one that we will, if I had to guess, barring some massive schedule conflict, that we will probably cover episodically when we're both caught up and working with the season 4, because it's just fun to talk about.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
And there's always like 6 plot lines per episode.
Yep.
There's plenty to discuss. So yeah, looking forward to Barrett getting all the way caught up there, and then hopefully at some point in August we can discuss that some. If you are running a business, you know that every time you miss a call, you're leaving money on the table. When every customer conversation matters, you need a phone system that keeps up and helps you stay connected 24/7. That's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system that streamlines and scales your customer communications. It works through an app on your phone or computer, so no more carrying 2 phones or using a landline. With OpenPhone, your team can share one number and collaborate on customer calls and texts like a shared inbox. That way, any teammate can pick up right where the last person left off, keeping response times faster than ever. Plus, say goodbye to voicemail. Their AI agent can be set up in minutes to handle calls after hours, answer questions, and capture leads, so you never miss a customer. So whether you are one person operating a business alone, drowning in calls and texts, or you have a large team that needs better collaboration tools, OpenPhone is a no-brainer. See why over 60,000 businesses trust OpenPhone. OpenPhone is offering our listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/OCC. That's openphone.com/OCC. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. See link and details in the description of this episode. Now, on that note, now we are going to take some hotline calls from the Mollisk Militia that would normally be reserved exclusively for patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles, and I'll get into some of the reasoning during these calls. We've got 3 calls for y'all today. Here is our first.
Hey, what's up? This is Russell out of New York, and I am a longtime listener, but way behind on everything OCC. But I just saw the notification for Wire Season 1, Episode 1 pop up on my feed. I went 6 to midnight. I couldn't be more excited. I've been saying since day one, the show is at its best when you are covering the best, and I didn't know if this was ever going to happen. Like, we had a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic that got out the Sopranos coverage, which I still think is the best thing the show has ever done. I was thinking about how can I start another global pandemic to shut down Hollywood so we can get this pod out. I'm glad I don't have to do that now. Couldn't be more excited. Let's fucking go. Keep doing what you're doing.
Russell out of New York, we forgive you for being way behind on everything OCC since you're in the Mollisk Militia on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles supporting our show.
What a perfect call.
Great call.
To preview what we're doing.
Really teed us up here,
It really
huh?
did, yeah.
Put it
Thanks,
on
Russell.
a tee for us, Russell. We're doing golf talk today. Russell is stoked because we dropped our companion podcast for the series premiere of The Wire, available now exclusively on our Patreon. We are also extremely excited to be diving in. It's something that Barrett and I have discussed doing for quite a while now. This year, I think we did about 3 months worth of conversation before finally landing on it, but it's something that has come up over the last 4 years, ever since we finished our coverage of The Sopranos, really. Russell said he thinks our coverage of The Sopranos that we did during the pandemic is the best thing our show has ever done, and I tend to agree. From December of 2020 through August of 2022, Barrett and I watched all 86
Wait, say
episodes.
that again? From when? From when to when?
December of 2020 through August of 2022.
Damn, that ended in 2022?
Yeah, dude. That took us like
3 years? 3 years ago?
A full...
It's been 3 years
Yeah.
since we finished The Sopranos?
Yeah.
God.
I know. The older you
This
get,
time flies, man.
the older you get, the faster it goes.
Wow.
That really is true, and it sucks. It's terrifying. But yeah, through August of 2022, we watched all 86 episodes of The Sopranos and made a companion podcast for every single one. Barrett had never seen the show before. I had seen it roughly 7 times all the way through, so we made our Sopranos podcasts friendly to both first-timers and rewatchers. We had a blast. I still definitively rank The Sopranos as the #1 greatest show of all time, but The Wire is absolutely in my top 5 and has been since the first time I watched the series on DVD, which was over 15 years ago at this point. We are doing The Wire in the same style we did The Sopranos. 1 podcast per episode, 1 podcast per week. Once again, friendly to first-timers and rewatchers, as Barrett has never seen it before, and I have watched it through 3 or 4 times, The Wire, but it has been several years since I watched it. I definitely have not watched it in this phase of my life, if you will. We will be working our way through season 1 of The Wire from now until mid-October, and it is possible we will be rolling right into season 2, which would take us through the end of the year all the way to January 2026. We'll just have to see how the calendar shakes out. But at this point, we are fully committed to doing season 1 from front to back. And again, our companion podcast for The Wire will be ad-free and available exclusively on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. Stick around for the end of today's show, and we will give you a preview of our companion podcast for season 1, episode 1 of The Wire. You're excited, Barrett?
Fantastic. Yeah, very excited. Very excited.
We're really doing it.
We're doing it.
We're really doing it.
Never thought this day would come, you know? It's
here, dude.
It's here. People
Buckle
have been
up.
telling me to watch The Wire for what feels like 20 years.
Yeah. Well, it came out in 23 years ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, very stoked for The Wire. Appreciate the call. Thanks, Russell, out of New York. Next call.
Ross Barrett, Drew from Santa Barbara. Sorry, my first call got messed up. I was calling. One thing I thought was cool was the whole radio thing. So, like, whenever they're listening to 50 Cent and he's talking about, hey, you can't talk about stuff in the car, you have another car come by that's listening to the same radio station, which I thought was just kind of call back to earlier times whenever you'd have a bunch of people listening to the same kind of music, because there weren't Spotify or anything like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. And the one question I had was, is this the first sighting of Michael B. Jordan we have? I can't remember, but it's just really cool to see him as a child actor, and especially where he is today with Sinners and being such a prolifically great actor. So anyway, keep doing what you're doing. Glad you guys are doing The Wire. Cheers.
Drew from Santa Barbara proving that one nice thing about Patreon, you mess up your call, just hang up, call back in.
Get to do it over.
Try it again.
Yeah.
So there's a scene in the series premiere of The Wire where 2 characters are bumping Jay-Z's 2001 hit Izzo in a car. It's definitely not 50 Cent. He misspoke, disrespected and insulted Hove. Unforgivable.
I feel like we're gonna get some 50 Cent in here somewhere.
It's-
I just have a feeling.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
It is that time period.
It is.
You know?
Yeah.
But Drew's point is that when the 2 dudes in the car get out of the car and the radio turns off, like 2 seconds later, another car drives by and we continue to hear Izzo by Jay-Z because that car is also bumping their radio.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's just flawlessly timed on the show. And for younger millennials and Gen Z, you may not even know like what a radio is, but
I think younger millennials know.
I know, I'm joking. But this used to be a thing in the 90s and early 2000s because pre-streaming, when, I mean, we had burnt CDs and stuff, like CDs were definitely
Ross,
in
I
play.
got news for you.
Yeah.
There's still radio stations.
No, I know.
They still exist. There's FM radio,
but
playing,
it's only Boomer Barrett and your
playing
compatriots
slaps.
listening to it.
No, I don't listen to it anymore.
You've been on the sly an XM radio guy for a long time, haven't you?
Yeah, big Sirius XM.
Are you still in there?
Yeah, I'm mostly connected to my phone on the Bluetooth, which famously did not exist in the early 2000s.
It did not.
Mostly connected to Spotify, but I do listen to some stations on Sirius XM as well.
Okay, yeah. It was crazy when we were in high school and even late middle school or whatever. You know, you'd pull up to a stoplight and be listening to a song on the radio.
Yeah.
And the car next to you
And
would
some
have their
honeys
windows
would pull
down
up next to you.
and they'd have the same song. And you'd be like, yeah, we should link up. No, that part never happened. But like you'd be at stoplights and hear other people listening to the same song you were listening to because in Houston, somewhere
97.9 the box.
50% of the city has the box on at the same time, and you'd hear the same rap song, right?
Yeah.
So like that was a cool little detail from the Wire series premiere that
was cool.
that we didn't end up touching on. Which this is often how things operate on Patreon. We fill in gaps that we missed during our original coverage or whatever. So to answer his question about Michael B. Jordan, he was actually in one scene of The Sopranos first, which aired in 1999. So technically,
What episode? What scene?
he's in season 1, episode 7, titled Down Neck, and his character title is Rhineland Kid.
Okay.
And he's basically, there's a flashback where Tony young Tony, and I mean like 10-year-old Tony,
Yeah.
is walking. I'll show you a little picture here. That's Michael B. Jordan.
Okay.
So
All right.
it's no lines. It's not even a
No, now I
big
remember
character.
this. I remember this.
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's being chased by 3 kids in the neighborhood or whatever. So technically, that's the first time we see Michael B. Jordan on screen. But in this episode, in The Wire, this is his first big role, his first major role, where he starts out as sort of like a tertiary character, like a side character anyway. You know, he's a smaller character.
Yeah.
But it's very much Michael B. Jordan. Like
yeah.
you can, his face is his face. You know.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see him as this character named Wallace on The Wire. Barrett and I were talking off mic prior to starting recording today, and I think the way we're going to handle some of this hotline call stuff for The Wire is we're going to do 1 episode per month that's all hotline calls.
Yeah.
So that should give us roughly 2 hotline call episodes per season, I think. Maybe
Well,
even
I
3,
mean,
depending on the length of the season.
Much like The Sopranos, and something that I looked into because I was curious, most of the seasons of The Wire are 13 episodes long.
Yeah.
So they are longer seasons. So
3 months worth of episodes.
They'll really carry. You might really get like 3 hotline call episodes per season. But I think 2 at a minimum is what that would net out to. Yeah.
And to be clear, those hotline call episodes will only be available to the Mollisk Militia tier. So if you want the episodes of The Wire that we're doing every week, you can just be in the Clam Fam, and that's fine. If you want those and the hotline calls and access to the hotline and the Discord server video of every episode, then you're going to need to be in the Mollisk Militia tier where they get everything. Next call. Last call.
Hey, boys. This is Dan from Chicago. I just wanted to call in and give some love to Foundation real quick. So I've watched the first 2 episodes of season 3. I haven't caught up on the 3rd episode yet. I just wanted to say this iteration of Brother Day has got to be my favorite so far. I saw somebody call him Brother Lebowski. I just thought that was really funny. Anyway, I just wanted to see if you guys are keeping up with Foundation or where you're at with that. Keep doing what you're doing. Bye.
Dan from Chicago. Foundation, for those of you who are unaware, is a sci-fi show on Apple TV+. It is 3 seasons deep. We're in the midst of season 3 right now. Barrett is not caught up. I will not be doing any spoilers here, but I think, we're 3 episodes deep into the season. Episode 4 drops Friday, so Thursday night, because Apple.
Yep.
It has been a lot of fun so far, and for those of you who have not started season 3, but maybe watched seasons 1 and 2 and forgot this was a thing, and you need a push to get back on board the Foundation train, I'll just say this. Season 3, Brother Day, is being called Brother Lebowski online because he has the same demeanor as the dude, a.k.a. Jeffrey Lebowski, and has spent the first 3 episodes of the season wandering around in a bathrobe, stoned.
His whole perspective
changed his whole perspective
on shit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We actually had another caller this week. A woman called in and said that she has found Foundation easier to watch season 3 because Brother Day is not just constantly shirtless with his chest out.
With his massive chest.
Which is funny because he's in like a bathrobe, but it is covering enough of his ridiculous bench press chest.
Yeah, that it's not as distracting.
Doesn't have nips out all the time.
Yeah. We're big stands of Lee Pace's very broad and sculpted chest here in this podcast.
It's almost comical.
Yeah.
The dude's chest. Also, no belly button.
Right, because he's a clone.
Yeah, which you see the no belly button thing pretty regularly in this season so far. But it's been a really fun one.
That's probably practical effects. I imagine that he sits in a makeup chair and they
put
do
something over there.
They do a little makeup there to get rid of that BB.
Well, especially because I think they had to shave their budget down. And there's no way they're spending like $10 million an episode on CGI for his belly button because it's out like that. His abdomen is out the whole show.
Yeah. Look, we are obviously very excited and very focused on our Patreon project right now, covering The Wire, but we will still be doing ad-based shows. We've already mentioned that I think we're definitely going to have some time to dedicate to Gilded Age, and Gilded Age will wrap up nominally halfway through the season 3 of Foundation. I will be watching season 3 of Foundation, and I imagine that we will have time to give some love and some coverage to that show before season 3 ends as well. Because there are definitely fans of that show, and you guys have been good about telling us that you still want some coverage about it. It's
Foundation fans.
Found the Foundation fans. It's just there are dozens of you, and that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah,
so-
when we did coverage of season 1 and 2, which we did in a row.
Maybe, yeah, potentially. Pretty.
But we were doing chunks of episodes per
Yeah,
podcast.
They were. I think it was in pretty quick succession. I don't know if
Yeah.
it was back to back, but
Very few listened is the point. Like nobody was, for whatever reason, we could not get enough of you on board with Foundation.
I mean, look, we've said this ad nauseum, so sorry for beating a dead horse here, but like I could sell anybody on Gilded Age. Anybody and everybody should watch Gilded Age, and you will like it.
Right.
I mean,
It's kind of for everyone.
It's kind of for everyone. Foundation, not so much. It's very specific. It's pretty heavy sci-fi. There's a lot of moving parts. You got to
be into the genre, man.
You need to be into the genre. Yes. So it's just more limiting than a show with very broad appeal like the Gilded Age.
Yeah. Foundation, for lack of a better term, is extremely complicated. It's extreme. The story overall,
and
is,
how it's told. Yeah.
Like if you were at a dinner with friends and tried to explain like what Foundation is about, you'd get several sentences in and start to sound really crazy and difficult to follow.
Yeah.
Because that's how the show is.
I mean, it's like, right. It's like universe spanning history, essentially, right?
Yeah. That does hundreds of year time jumps.
Yeah.
That has all these different technological facets, and it's just kind of a lot.
Yeah.
They do a very good job with this. Is one of those things. It's based on books by Isaac Asimov. It was always largely considered to be impossible to adapt to television.
Right.
And they've done a really good job of it. It's just that like they simplified season 3 even more. Like the parts that get complicated, they dumb it down like crazy and give you a narrator voiceover to make sure that your silly ass who's half on your phone while watching takes in the information you need to take in. So they've made it less difficult to follow.
Do we have
this season?
Do we have a Gale sighting yet?
Gail Dornick?
Yeah. She been in it yet?
In season 3?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
How about Harry Seldon?
Yes.
Okay. And obviously we've got the brothers.
But the fact that you'd go into season 3 and not know if you are even going to see either of them kind of proves the point that we're talking about with this show.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So they're okay. All right.
At least like 5 main characters are still with us, but then every season introduces like 10 new characters because the other ones you met died 150 years ago or whatever. Right. So it gets pretty wild. Yeah. It gets pretty wild. So when we're doing hotline calls on patreon.com/oystersclamscockles to go along with our episodic ad-based coverage of a show, this is generally how those episodes go. People will call in, say, hey, you guys didn't mention this, or you didn't talk about this, or sometimes, hey, you were wrong about this, and here's the actual thing.
Or what do you think about this? Or I thought this was really cool. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, we get a lot of different angles and takes from people who otherwise were not able to share them with us thanks to the hotline, right? So we take calls from members of the Mollisk Militia tier on Patreon. We respond to them. We let the listeners and viewers drive further discussion, and we have ourselves a hootin' good time. So from this year alone, we've got hotline call episodes for The Bear Season 4, which we just wrapped coverage of, The Last of Us Season 2, The White Lotus Season 3, Silo Season 2 technically also had some in 2025, and the first 4 episodes of Severance Season 2. That's just this year in terms of Hotline Call podcasts. So if you've never been on patreon.com/oystersclamscockles before and you love and want to support our show in exchange for way more episodes, when you subscribe on Patreon, you gain access to our entire backlog of over 5 years of ad-free exclusive content. So many Hotline Calls for so many shows. Our entire companion podcast for The Sopranos, which is 86 episodes deep. Our movie club collection with companion podcasts for 18 different movies, companion podcasts for the last 6 episodes of Severance Season 2, because the first 4 are publicly available on podcast platforms, and/or Season 2 companion podcasts.
That's right.
Come on, folks. It's just $5 a month to join the Clam Fam and gain access to our entire ad-free audio backlog on Patreon, plus audio access to The Wire Season 1 coverage, which we just started, obviously. But if you like watching our show in video form and you want access to the hotline number and our Discord server, it's just $10 per month to join the Mollisk Militia tier and get video for all the new episodes we drop, access to our entire backlog, everything. Simple way of putting it, the Mollisk Militia gets everything we put on Patreon. And to close out today's show, we are going to include roughly the first half of our companion podcast for Season 1, Episode 1 of The Wire, which dropped this past Monday on patreon.com/oystersclamscockles. Now, I should say up front, the series premiere of The Wire introduces like 20 different characters and sets the stage for the season and the series on the whole, so it might be a little more like quote-unquote boring or difficult to follow than it will be once we are rolling with more episodes under our belt. But this will generally give you an idea of how our coverage of The Wire will work. We'll talk through the developments and major scenes from each episode, dissect the important stuff, laugh about the funny stuff, make some jokes, give some interesting facts, share our takes, and keep the devil way down in the hole. Enjoy. Headed to Bodymore, Maryland.
Is that what they? That's a nickname for old Baltimore?
Yeah, it's not the nickname you want to get as a city, but it is one they have.
I've been to the Biltmore before. It's a nice place.
You have?
Yeah, out there in Biltmore, North Carolina, right in Asheville, right?
Oh, different.
Oh, is this different? This is different?
No, this is.
This isn't the surrounding area of the Biltmore.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, different setting.
Oh, okay.
In more ways than one.
Got it.
Yeah. The Wire, though, premiered on June 2nd, 2022. Just to do some historical...
Say that again? What now?
June 2nd, 2002, excuse me, not 2022.
That's right.
2002.
2002.
Just a bit outside. And to give some historical context, The Sopranos debuted in 1999. So The Wire, in conjunction with The Sopranos, kind of solidified HBO as the place for prestige TV in the early 2000s. Basically invented the genre, HBO did. And this show, The Wire, played a huge part in that. Obviously, Barrett and I have already done our podcasting about The Sopranos, which you can also find here on Patreon in the collections section. The Wire was created by David Simon. He was the executive producer, head writer, and showrunner, David Simon. Do you know much about David Simon, Barrett?
I sort of feel like I do.
He was formerly a journalist.
Yes.
He worked for the Baltimore Sun City Desk for 12 years between 1982 and 1995. Then he wrote a couple of books, nonfiction books, Homicide, A Year on the Killing Streets, which dropped in 1991. And then he co-wrote The Corner, A Year in the Life of an Inner City Neighborhood, which came out in 1997. He did that with Ed Burns. So the former book was the basis for what became an NBC series, Homicide, Life on the Street.
Widely considered a sort of precursor to the precursors of prestige TV.
Yeah.
It's really, 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 really like well respected.
Ran from 93 to 99.
Yeah, and the first season especially, it features. He passed recently. Let me get Andre Braugher. Is one of the leads on Homicide: Life on the Street, and that first season especially is well beyond well ahead of its of the year that it debuted is the consensus, and I believe it just hit streaming within the last. It was kind of lost to time in a way.
Yeah, I'm completely unfamiliar with it,
and it just hit streaming within the last 18 months, I think.
So Simon served as a writer and producer on that show.
Yep.
And then he adapted the latter novel I mentioned, The Corner, A Year in the Life of an Inner City Neighborhood, into the HBO miniseries The Corner, which came out in the year 2000, which I also have never seen or heard of, to be frank. But the idea for The Wire itself started out as a police drama loosely based on the experiences of David Simon and his writing partner, Ed Burns, who was a former homicide detective and public school teacher. So their combined knowledge between David Simon's experience in the streets as a journalist and Ed Burns as a former homicide detective and public school teacher basically birthed what we are about to delve into. It's by and large pretty much unanimously considered as one of the best TV series of all time, considered the GOAT by many. If you're like a Bill Simmons fan, for example, he references it pretty constantly throughout his written work back in the day.
Correct.
Anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
What was your well?
I did a lot of research on this when we were diving into The Sopranos, and saying that The Wire is the GOAT is a pretty that's a zag. That's a hot take.
First of all, it's not my GOAT.
Right.
But
It's not most people's goats. The Sopranos is most people's goats. The Wire is widely considered like number 2 or 3, but but having it as number 1 is a rarer take, I'll say.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. On that note, The Wire did not win a single Emmy Award. It received 2 nominations, both for Outstanding Writing for a Drama Series in 2005 and 2008, but did not win. So despite critical acclaim and widespread recognition as one of the best TV series of all time, notably overlooked by the Emmys, which is just interesting.
It happens.
It's interesting. So episode 1, series premiere, is titled The Target. It was written by David Simon, directed by Clark Johnson. It's just over an hour long at 62 minutes. And we open up with a body in Baltimore, Maryland. We've got a police officer who we will come to know as Jimmy McNulty, who's interviewing a potential witness. And it turns out the body is that of a young man known as Snot Boogie, who apparently had a penchant for jacking dice games and running. And it seems like that caught up with him. But they had to let him play, though, Barrett, because this is America, man. Cue intro sequence. So when doing research for today's episode, I found this note on Wikipedia. The opening scene at the Snot Boogie crime scene has been praised as being a perfectly crafted setup for the series' themes of institutional dysfunction, devaluing human life, and epitomizing the bleak humor of the show, which you definitely feel all of these 3 things through the series premiere. And just having watched this for the first time in several years, as a reminder, I have seen the series a few times through. Barrett has never seen it before. I think you'd only watched the pilot, and that was many, many years ago, right?
Yes.
It was definitely a reminder of how much like dark humor there is, and a lot of vulgarity, a lot of cursing. You're not necessarily dealing with a lot of violence episode to episode, but you're definitely dealing with a lot of death.
Okay.
Episode to episode. Like, I think there's 3 deaths dealt with in this episode alone.
Right.
So it can be kind of dark. And you know, at least you've got that dark humor to kind of help you out along the way. From there, we see McNulty head in to watch a murder trial unfold. And the man accused of murder is one D'Angelo Barksdale, a.k.a. D, who will be one of the main characters we are dealing with in this episode. D'Angelo is played by Lawrence Gilliard Jr., who you may recognize from The Deuce, HBO Family, or The Walking Dead, who's a smaller character on there. Or, to me, he'll always be Derek, the team's kicker from The Waterboy.
That's okay. Yes.
Yeah.
That is why I recognize
Remember
him so well.
They teach him to envision that the football is a member of the Ku Klux Klan's head. And then he just kicks the living shit out of it?
Yep. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So D'Angelo is the nephew of Avon Barksdale, who runs the West Side Terraces, as we learn. Now, there's a little bit of confusion in this episode trying to figure out if he's Avon's nephew or his cousin, because the cops and McNulty refer to him as Avon's cousin, but then he repeatedly calls Avon his uncle, like when he's talking with Stringer and stuff. So I'm going with nephew, that he's his nephew. Avon is played by Wood Harris, of course. If you don't know Wood Harris, you don't know ball. And at this trial, we also see a man named Stringer in a suit and tie, played by none other than Idris Elba. He's sitting in the pews, kind of just watching everything unfold, taking notes on a notepad.
On a legal pad, yeah.
No smartphones, you know?
Yeah.
This is pre-iPhone takeover.
Yeah.
And everyone's lives being ruined by these handheld devices.
That's right. It's good because he's able to stick to business here. You know what I mean? Instead of sitting back there and playing Candy Crush.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually focus without being distracted.
Yeah.
There's a line in the new Clips album, just to show how relevant this show still is some 23 years later, where he says, when it comes down to it, every Stringer bell just need an Avon who won't sweep it under the rug. That album came out 2 weeks ago. So, you know, just to say that The Wire, particularly in hip-hop culture, maintains a very prominent place. So we see a witness take the stand. First witness on the stand is a man who does the thing that witnesses do. He spits back out the information that he has already given to the police. They have called him to the stand as part of their prosecution, and he has delivered on the promise to participate. But the next witness on the stand is Nikisha Lyles, a female witness to the murder, who changes her testimony on the stand and says the shooter was not D'Angelo Barksdale, that it was another dude who looked like him. I think is the way she puts it. Pretty clear from the get-go that something fishy is going on with this witness, Miss Lyles.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, knowing that we're watching...
She's backtracking on what she already told police.
Yeah.
She's getting on the stand and not repeating what she had said.
And having seen...
She's changing her story.
You know, having seen Idris Elba's character suited up in the audience... And if you're familiar with just like the way organized crime stuff like this works, like there's a famous scene in The Godfather Part 2 where a dude changes his entire testimony on the stand because of who was in the audience witnessing his testimony.
Yeah, I mean, Stringer's back there doing little head nods, very subtle.
Yeah, they make some eye contact and he hits her with like the, do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So McNulty gets up to leave, realizing what is happening. And he tells Stringer, nicely done.
Yep.
So you get the impression that McNulty is very privy to what has unfolded here, right? So he goes and lets one of his colleagues know, another cop, that his murder case just got destroyed because a witness got turned by Barksdale and his crew. And eventually we see the jury rule D'Angelo Barksdale not guilty on all counts, and as a result, D walks free. So a bunch of D'Angelo's colleagues celebrate in the courtroom, the judge is clearly irked, and then that judge, Daniel Phelan, calls McNulty into his office to ask what the hell happened out there at the trial. Now, this is pretty much the crux of episode 1. Judge Daniel Phelan is a dude that Officer McNulty has a prior relationship with. Now, I don't know exactly what that relationship is. I don't think they get into the details of it. But he knows McNulty. Mm-hmm. He saw McNulty in the courtroom. So he calls McNulty in to be like, what the hell? This was supposed to be an open and shut case. How did we lose? McNulty explains to the judge that the kid who just got off, D'Angelo Barksdale, is cousin to Avon Barksdale. Again, that's where the confusion comes in. Pretty sure it's his nephew. Goes on to explain that Avon and Stringer Bell, who's played by Idris Elba, and their crew have been running a place called the Franklin Terraces for a year. The judge has never heard of any of these people. Clearly, he is completely unfamiliar with Avon and Stringer. McNulty says Barksdale has 5 out of the 7 towers in the terrace, 10 stairwells, and 5 high-rises going 24/7 for dope and coke, and that's just the towers. They also have the low-rises, the avenue corners. They're all his too. And he says Barksdale and Bell are the new power. They dropped 10 or 12 bodies in as many months, and they've already beat 3 cases in court, the same that they just did to the judge. So we find out later in the episode a little bit of further context that McNulty, one of these 10 or 12 bodies he references, McNulty caught, meaning it became one of his cases. And the same thing that we just watched unfold in court happened in that case, where they got to one of the witnesses, flipped the witness, and as such, the prosecution lost their case. So McNulty has a personal sort of grudge against this crew. He is also noticing a pattern that they are very effective at what they do, and he's clocking that none of the members of the police force are currently working on these guys, and even like the higher ups, like the judges, like Phelan and such, are completely unaware of them. So they're just sort of flying under the radar, and they've become what seems to be like a pretty major criminal enterprise without much pushback from law enforcement. That's the gist of the big thing that we get out of this episode, right?
Yep.
So McNulty clearly wants the judge to do something about this, but he's kind of playing it coy, right? Like he's... As we find out, you're not really supposed to do what McNulty is doing here. You're not supposed to talk out of the chain of command. Mm-hmm. You report to your supervisor and your supervisor alone. The cops don't like it when you're going around them and making a big stink by having some weird relationship with a judge downtown, which is exactly what he's doing, right? So from there, we meet some of our Baltimore PD cast. We've got Kima Greggs, who is working with an informant to bust some dudes doing like a drug bust or running guns. You know, she's got this witness in her car. Mm-hmm. Turns out it's like the witness's car, actually. And she's working with a couple of cops named Herc and Carver. Now, Kima, Herc, and Carver are all going to be main characters. I don't expect everybody to come out of episode 1 and remember everyone's names because, frankly, you get about 25 characters thrown at you. But I'm going to try to reinforce them some so that it's a little easier. But yeah, Kima rolls up and finds a second gun in that car. Kind of makes Herc and Carver look like slapdicks.
Yeah, this little crew is more like, I think they're the drug unit, maybe it's said. Maybe they're drugs, narcotics, firearms,
they're narcotics.
that type of thing.
Narcotics.
They're more like beat cops. Well, no, they're not like beat cops. They are on narcotics, but they're on the street. They're on the street.
Yeah.
And speaking of HBO Family, I would just like to note that our white man here, our white guy on the street,
Oh, yeah.
notably later plays Dom in Entourage. The HBO Family, once again, it knows no bounds. If you get cast, you will get cast again. It is crazy how this works.
He is also in We Own This City.
Okay.
Which
So
I can't remember if David Simon was just an executive producer of that, but he was in that. Reacher, Tulsa King. He has a type.
He does have a type, yeah.
Dominic Lombardozzi.
Is his name Dominic?
Yeah.
That's funny, because I was about to say he should just be named Dom and everything.
Yeah.
I would also note that it is the year 2002 where we are, and yet the police have no computers.
No computers. Rocking typewriters still.
Is that for real?
It seems like...
That is shocking.
So we see Carver typing up his paperwork for the bus they just did on his typewriter, and Herc says they need to get computers hooked up, and the department promised to train them on that shit a year ago. The impression we're supposed to be getting here is that most police departments have probably caught up and have computers now in 2002,
Yeah.
but the Baltimore PD, which is notoriously shitty, particularly in this era that we are dealing with here, early 2000s, like they were just slacking. So they're rocking typewriters. And for anybody who's ever had to use a typewriter, which we did in college as part of like our pledgeship for our fraternity.
Oh, yeah?
They made us use typewriters on a weekly basis to type up something. I don't even remember what. It sucks.
Yeah.
And when you make a mistake, it's not...
You got to scrap it.
Yeah. Or you got to use whiteout, wait for it to dry, go back. You know, it's a whole thing.
It is a whole
and you're
thing.
sitting there
It's
hunting
very-
and pecking.
Oh, yeah.
It's not as
Seems
easy,
very
you know?
difficult.
Yeah.
But just, I mean,
bygone era.
For context, 2002, we were in high school, Ross.
Yeah.
Like, computers were not a newfangled thing.
I've been using computers since like the
95?
third grade.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
And the Baltimore PD is still sitting here hunting and pecking on typewriters. It feels like it would be problematic.
It's 2002. We got free AOL 24 hours a disc just flying out all over the place willy-nilly.
They're in the streets.
They're in the streets. They're so rampant. And the Baltimore PD is sitting at their desks, twiddling their thumbs, typing on typewriters.
Yeah, it's bizarre to see. One of the fun things about watching this series is going to be the advances in technology, some of which we get to before the end of this premiere episode. We meet Lieutenant Cedric Daniels, played by the late Lance Reddick, who passed away in the last couple years at some point. I want to say 2 years ago.
Yep,
Daniels comes in, tells the squad he has to go upstairs because the deputy is throwing some kind of piss fit. And this that we're dealing with right here is the major crimes unit with Kima, Carver, and Herc, Cedric Daniels at the head, and they do narcotics. They're fighting the war on drugs, but as Carver says, you can't even call this shit a war. Wars end. And in general, arguably the main sort of theme of this series, being the war on drugs, is fascinating the further we get from it because, you know, I think there were, in the 90s and early 2000s in particular, a lot of Americans felt like the war on drugs was a really necessary thing. And the deeper we've gotten into it, the more, you know, educated you become on the subject, the more you realize how kind of horseshit this entire thing was.
Yep.
And The Wire does a really, really good job of highlighting why. Like, if there's nothing else to take away from this series, it's that this entire idea of fighting drugs the way that they're doing it on the street level here in Baltimore on The Wire is extremely ineffective in terms of any type of real improvement to the community or keeping anyone safe. It just causes like a vicious cycle. So Cedric Daniels goes up and sees his superiors who are pissed that nobody knows who Avon Barksdale is. They don't even have a DOB on Barksdale. They know nothing about him. DOB stands for date of birth. Judge Phelan took McNulty's report and started ruffling feathers to get someone to do something about Barksdale, and that someone is now going to be Cedric Daniels and the squad that he assembles. So the major wants a file by morning. Everybody wants files by morning. Got to get some files by morning. Judges are asking questions. Multiple departments are asking for files by morning. Wants information on Barksdale ASAP. Daniels puts Kima in charge of making this happen. And from there, we bounce over to McNulty, who's meeting up with his partner, another one of our main characters, Bunk Moreland, who's played by Wendell Pierce, who's also in a ton of stuff. Pretty renowned actor. Bunk is working on a body. McNulty doesn't want anything to do with it. This confused me for sure because I'm like, wait, when you're partners, don't you just both
work
have
together?
to?
Yeah,
like,
this was also I noted this as well.
He's like, nah, you take this one by yourself. I'm busy ruffling feathers.
They're partners in a way that they like communicate with each other on a daily basis, but they're not riding around in the squad car together cracking cases yet.
In the way you picture partners, but they are like referred to in this episode as partners. So I don't know what the hell that's about. Why he's just able to be like, nope, you do this one. Bunk doesn't think this body he found is a murder. He hopes it will be an easy case like an OD or a heart attack. We later find out, unfortunately, that is not the case. It is, in fact, a murder. Back at the department, Sergeant Jay Landsman. Now, this is the only way I know how to put this is a big fat white guy. Mm-hmm. He's like the one who looks like the most classic stereotype of a cop that we encounter in episode 1.
Yep.
And Landsman lets McNulty know the Major wants to talk to him before he leaves, so McNulty goes in and sees Major William Rawls, who absolutely skewers him because McNulty tipped off the judge about Barksdale and caused them all have to do their jobs. Rawls is a long character. He's going to be in the show for a while. He's one to, remember.
Spoiler alert.
Well, he has the great speech where he does double middle fingers.
Yeah.
And he says, you see him, McNulty? You see him? These are for you. These are for you as long as it takes for me to get even. It's funny how put out all of these senior level officers are over having to work a major case.
Yes.
They don't want to do their jobs.
No. They don't want to do their jobs. They want no information. Ignorance is bliss. They everybody is basically half-assing it. Barlow, the cop that gets his case ruined, thinks that he's got it signed, sealed, and delivered because he has, what does he say? He's like, I got 2 eyewitnesses in a something.
Yeah.
He thinks that's going to be plenty. He's just back at the desk. He's not even in the courtroom while McNulty is.
Yeah, he's making phone calls, bitching at like some guy who's trying to charge him too much for housework or something.
Honestly, all of this with the law enforcement is my main takeaway from episode 1, and I think you got to take it with a grain of salt because it's the first episode, obviously, but because it feels very intentional that you cannot keep up with this. You can't make heads or tails over who is the boss of who. Even there's majors and lieutenants, and then we get to the fucking deputy who seems to be at the top of it all. But there's all these divisions and units. None of them seem to want to work together or are communicating in any type of way. They're pissed when McNulty gets put on the detail and can't do his regular job anymore.
Right.
And all of this it's super confusing and kind of flips you upside down on the law enforcement side. Which is in such a severe way that I have to think that it's intentional, because I have no fucking clue who is who and who reports to who and what Landsman is doing. Who is he? Why is he just walking around talking?
I think Landsman. I mean, dude, I've seen this multiple times, and even for me, I had the same questions. I was like, okay, so I think Jay Landsman is right above McNulty.
But
between him and the major,
it seems
he's like middle management.
Yeah, when he's like, how am I supposed to know? I'm just his major.
Right.
So
Landsman's a sergeant.
A sergeant. I'm just his sergeant.
Yeah.
So all of this
the chain of command.
Yes, chain of command. All the bureaucracy, the politics, the red tape, all of that.
Oh yeah.
You can already sense that that's going to come into play.
Yeah, and the irony is that for a lot of people who try to watch The Wire, including your first time through, this is a huge turnoff.
This was what I remember as being the turnoff is everything that's happening
keep
in the
up with
police
this.
station. Yeah.
And frankly, if you're listening or watching and you have a huge concern about that, I would argue that it is not all that important for you to fully understand the chain of command. It will become abundantly clear kind of who the major players are that we do need to understand. And other than that, you just kind of do your best.
Yeah.
But I think you're absolutely right. Watching this first episode, the impression you get is this department is a clusterfuck. This is a real mess of bureaucracy and red tape and shit slinging.
Yep.
How are they ever going to get anything done, right? Rawls calls McNulty a backstabbing, smart-ass piece of shit, an insubordinate little fuck.
I mean, yeah, he is on one for a relatively
5 minutes,
innocuous, conversation that he had. Seemingly, I mean, obviously not, but
well, but he's this mad at him for reporting basically that we have a problem with an
Right.
organized crime syndicate over here.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Which you feel like a major would care about.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like in Harry Potter when the Ministry of Magic, they just don't want to hear that Voldemort is coming back. They're just not having it. They get mad if you even suggest it.
That's a great comp. Yeah. They don't want to do work. They don't want to have to do work. You know, and in my impression, again, it's been many years since I watched this, so frankly, I don't remember a lot of the minutia, especially when it comes to the police department. But like my impression walking away from this episode was like, in part, the higher-ups don't want to delve into something like this because they don't really have the manpower. Like, I don't remember the guy's name, but there's a guy above Cedric Daniels who basically tells him, well, look, there's only you and this one other cop, and that other cop is already on this case, so that leaves you to be in charge of the Barksdale case. Like, they don't have enough people to police the whole city.
Yep.
All right, that's it for today's show. Go to patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles now. Join either the Clam Fam or the Mollisk Militia tier and enjoy the rest of that companion podcast for The Wire Season 1, Episode 1, and ride with us through our coverage of The Wire Season 1. Quick programming note. Normally, our companion podcasts for The Wire are going to drop on Mondays, but next week I will be out of town until Tuesday afternoon, so our pod for The Wire Season 1, Episode 2 will drop when I am back. Sorry for that short delay, but Daddy needs a break. Barrett, any last words?
I can't wait to come up with some bits for The Wire.
Man.
I'm sure there will be opportunities, and it's one of my favorite parts about doing these long-running shows is just finding our own unique ways into them. So,
I would say you're the bit boy.
looking forward to that. Looking forward to watching season 1, episode 2 this weekend, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Follow Barrett at Barrett Dudley on Instagram and Twitter, BarrettDudley. I'm at WR Bolin on both those platforms. Follow our show on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, Facebook. Until next time, remember, when you walk through the garden, you got to watch your back.